last week to ride everything that happened last week and just get out there again and play some rugby?
Well, that's the thing. Like it's on to the next challenge in these things, isn't it? So you try your best to park the game. I think it'll be there in the back of our minds for in the future. Great to be back here, particularly back at the RDS. Haven't played here in a long time. Hopefully get a big crowd. Nice to see some bits outside for all the supporters. There's I believe Mark was saying there's a few tickets left, so get in now. And for the players, they're just excited to get back playing again. Because it was frustrating all weekend for them in Marseille last week. So in terms of selections, just trying to get the right combination then of, get a bit of freshness in there. We picked up a few knocks during the course of the game. A couple of guys unavailable due to knocks. As I said, we're excited to get going again.
You said obviously that's understandable if it's there, still there in the back of the minds of some players. Is that something you can just kind of feed off and try use to your advantage?
As long as it's channeled in the right way, we knew it was going to be it's a big challenge this week because Glasgow are a good team. It's a singular focus for those guys, where you're getting ready for a final and even a quarter final. So regardless of the results last weekend, it was always going to be hugely challenging this game. But if you want to be successful, like in all the competitions, and we've huge respect for both competitions, so that's important to note. Like we've the utmost respect for both competitions, want to put our best foot forward and all the rest. So it was always going to be a challenging week this week, so win or lose last weekend. But it's still like it's an opportunity to get out, and we're at home. A lot of work went into getting us into this situation where we are at a home quarter final in the RDS. So it's unusual, isn't it? Like the rugby in June, still taking a bit of getting used to as well. It's a great opportunity, for the guys, the players in particular, to go out and play for each other and put in a big performance and help get over, as I said, the disappointment of last week.
And of the players who aren't starting or who aren't playing this week from last week, is it Johnny and Ronan are the only two who are officially unavailable?
Well, James had a bang as well, you see, and Hugo had a bang. So the four of them are in essence unavailable yet through knocks. Yeah.
And are any of them kind of, if you get beyond this week, would any be available?
Some of them will be back in next week, but I couldn't be certain with exactly who now. But some of them will be back next week. It's just sort of day by day with particularly with Ronan, who took the most serious bang in the game as he's come off very early in the game. Johnny had that issue with his foot and ankle, so he wasn't able to train this week. But we're hoping he'll be back into training next week. But again, we'll see how he goes through. He'll try to run tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes for him. James, he picked up that previous knock, and again he'll be touch and go again next week as well. So, and Hugo probably pretty similar as well. So anyway, we'll see how they are. See how the weekend goes. You got to win the game first to be in the semi-final, as we know. So winners progress, the losers don't. And we'll see how some of the guys obviously come into the team as well, how they go.
Yeah, just on Ronan, is it a similar injury that he had in the shoulder in the Six Nations as well? Is it a return to that, or?
No, it's slightly different to that, but yeah, it's similar enough area, yeah, for sure, yeah. Obviously, when he went to South Africa that time, and then didn't play the game, so it's similar to what he had going on there.
Johnny was pretty clear last week that the Champions Cup was the one you obviously wanted this season. When you won so many league titles over the last couple of years, where does the drive come from to kind of pick yourselves up and go again?
Well, that's the internal motivation, and it's the individual motivation, the group motivation, there's a real privilege to be involved with this team, I think, and from the players' point of view, there's some great bonds and friendships, and some guys haven't experienced a huge amount of success and they're desperate for it. So, I think like a Joe McCarthy as an example, like a young player who's come into the team. He only made his debut during the Six Nations window, and there he is coming off the bench in a Champions Cup final, and here he is starting in a quarter final. So, like as an example, and there's lots of those subplots within a team. And yeah, the drive is there, strong as ever. If anything, after the weekend, it's stronger than ever. So, but this week has been about trying to learn some harsh enough lessons from the game, and improve as a group and move forward. And yeah, no, we're all keen to get going now at this point, and just get back into that routine of playing. But it's going to be a tough challenge. Like Glasgow, a good team, sort of a niggly type of team as well. And yeah, to make sure we're in the right headspace for the game, because it's, as I said, it's a great challenge. And hopefully we have a big crowd to cheer the guys on as well.
Leo, we were chatting to Robin McBride earlier on the week, and he was talking about the importance of putting in a performance for the fans, because they've travelled all over Europe with you. Is that been something that you use to galvanise and motivate the team going into this week, that look at, we still have a championship, we still have a trophy on offer to reward the fans that have been showed us so much support over the year?
Yeah, well, it's definitely one of the big factors, and because we've, like, even just if you think of the nature of the squad that we have, so there's if you think a squad, 45 senior players, 20 academy players, over the course of the season, like 60 players have played. Like, it's a big chunk, and of that 60, I don't know what the exact number is, but there's at least 3/4 have come through the pathway, so to speak. So with that comes the opportunity to run out in front of friends and family and all the rest. So there's a huge sense of what it is. It's responsibility to represent that wider piece, and hopefully the fans see that more often than not, that they see a team that really cares about the team they're representing. So every week we go out to play, like, we get the opportunity to showcase what it does mean to the group. So this week is no different, really, but particularly now that we're back here at the RDS, because as I said, there's an amazing amount of work has gone in to get us to this point. Regardless of, as I said, like the result in Marseille, when you go from a final into a quarter-final, there's always a challenge there, isn't there? Because you see in the stadium, particularly a game that goes down to the wire like that, where there's elation in one corner and there's dejection and devastation in the other corner. So it's just about making sure you try and pick the players back up again either way, and move on to the next challenge. And this tournament is growing all the time. It's getting stronger every year. The addition of the 4 South African teams, the big 4 South African teams, has added a totally new dimension. And I'm unbelievably excited to watch Munster Ulster go at it. So you have your Irish derby, then you have your South African derby tomorrow. Then there's our game against Glasgow, and then you have obviously another Scottish team travelling out of South Africa to play. So there's a bit of everything in all those games, and that's the exciting thing for this tournament in the years ahead. The dynamic is unlike anything else we've experienced before. So even the thought of, if you're Munster and Ulster, you're playing your games on tonight, you're waking up then tomorrow to watch Stormers v Edinburgh, and you have 2 planes booked, one to go to Cape Town, the other getting ready to go to Edinburgh. So even that dynamic alone, so it's a fascinating dynamic, the tournament. So and for us to get hugely excited by it. So yeah, some great teams. Like, I grew up watching teams like the Bulls, the Stormers, even the Lions in more recent years, and the Sharks are a very iconic team as well. So they're 4 fantastic teams. So be able to pitch yourselves in playoffs, because I would have always watched those teams play in Super Rugby. Bulls, very dominant period that they had. Think of some of the great players they had, like, that would have been involved in that World Cup winning team, particularly into that 2007 group, that were very successful with the Bulls. Backy's Bota, Victor Batfield, the list goes on. So yeah, to be in competition with those teams now, I think it's a great progression for, I guess, what was the Celtic League in its early years. Obviously the Italian team's been added to that as well. So yeah, no, hugely exciting, I think, where this tournament can go, and we want to go after it with everything that we got. So we're excited about the future.
You just said about picking the dressing room up and obviously getting the psychology, the mentality of the players back on track. How difficult is it as a management team to bounce back from the weekend?
We go through similar emotions, yeah, for sure. And that's what you want to see, real character, don't you? We all will have setbacks in this game. It's any walk of life, really. So it's the response is which tests his character, really, ultimately. So we've had a disappointing day. We just need to get back out there now and put in a big performance against, as I said, a tough opponent. But that's the exciting challenge, isn't it? So we'll see how we go.